On a normal print day, when you walk into the studio and enter the darkroom, what you're going to see is your developer prepped, your stop bath, your fixer, and then water. The water tank, when you come in, will probably be turned off. However, it's really important that you make sure the water is consistently running and filtering through as you're printing. So when you get in here, double check that, make sure that it gets turned on, and then at the end of the hour, make sure that it's turned off. You have a station over here for your prints. You will want to throw away your paper towels that you use at the end of the day, but we're going to reuse these since they're already here. You're going to want to prep this little tray for checking your prints using this enlarger. We have a spot to prep your paper in the dark because you will only be printing for the most part on 5x7, and you will have to print your image, you'll have to prep your paper in the dark under the red light. And it's very dark when you turn off that light. It's very hard to see. So that's why I have some tape guidelines, and it shows you here where your first cut should be and where your second cut should be. The next thing you have is your enlargers, which we went over in the video. Just make sure that your enlarger is plugged into the bottom outlet, and then your clock is plugged into some sort of outlet on the ground. You should also double check and make sure you have something to use for your test strips, like a piece of paper. That might look like different sizes. This tool here is a mirror which allows you to check focus, which I will show you either in a video that somebody has posted or somehow figure out a way in which I can show you through the lens itself. You have a puffer. I don't actually know what this is called, but I'm going to call it a puffer. And what you're going to use this for is pulling out your cartridge, and let's say your film has a little bit of dust on it. You can use this to blow off the dust without ruining the film. And then the last and final thing is like a cleaning tool or a cleaning rag, a really soft brush, and yeah, that's it. I don't know why there's a pencil in here. We're going to move that. All right, and that should show you that you're ready and prepped. The last thing you're going to do is find your paper, which I'm hopefully going to move the paper down into here. Oh, looks like I already have. You will have a box of photo paper designated to you, and designated to you. And then you're going to pull this out. Do not open your photo paper. You can leave it out here, like maybe over by the sink, so that you're not in the way of anybody using a projector. Leave your photo paper out here. Do not open. I can't stress that you can't open this, because if you open it in the light, you are going to ruin all of your paper, overexpose it, and then it's game over. We're going to take out our paper and we're going to prep it. So carefully, you're going to open up your envelope. Your paper will be nicely stored in a black baggie, and you're going to pull out. I would avoid pulling out all my photographs, but you're going to pull out just one sheet. Be careful not to bend, rip, or fold your paper. And we're going to open this cutting board up. And again, we're going to do our first cut on line 1. And we're going to turn it into our second cut on line 2. If you were going to do multiple photos, you could prep, which you will do multiple photos. So I would do a second cut on the second piece that you just cut in half. And now you have 2 equal-sized 5x7-inch photographic paper and 2 test strips conveniently. So the test strips will help you in adjusting your aperture settings, and then you have your photograph paper that you're going to print the final image on. You only have 10 sheets of photo paper, so you got to be very mindful of how much you're using and being very meticulous to not expose this anywhere. One thing I forgot to mention is once you have all your paper prepped and cut, put all your pieces back in the envelope, because what you need to do now is get your image ready, focused, and set up for printing. You don't want to be focusing your image with your paper out and exposed, because the enlarger is going to emit light and it's going to ruin your paper. So make sure everything is tucked away safe inside your bag until you are absolutely ready for printing. The next step you're going to do is find the reel in which you want to, or the frame in which you want to focus on. So you're going to turn your timer to focus, and then you can turn your enlarger on so you can see how much light is being already emitted. You're going to get your film carrier and you're going to want to open this thing up. Some of them come in flaps, some of them come apart. You're going to grab your film and you can slide it across the surface in between these 4 nubs that stick out. Next thing you're going to do is close your carrier, and then that adjustment lever is on the left side of this one, so I'm going to lift it up and then I'm going to close it back down. Now you can see how small my image is on the projection, and it's also very dark, so notice when I adjust my aperture I can make it much brighter. My focus is also way out of whack. I can't see anything right now, so I have to adjust my focus way up, and boom, now we have a great quite focused image. Make sure you have all of your image in the frame. That's super important, because otherwise you're going to print something that is cropped slightly. And you'll notice that I'm focused on the very large frame of my easel. If yours shows up like this and you don't want to print like that, you can flip it over and realign your image to fit a different orientation. What you're going to then do is loosen up the enlarger's elevation knob and slide your enlarger down to fit the image within the frame. When we're ready to print, we're going to want to turn that aperture all the way down and then up 1 notch. Okay? You can hear it click. That's on the aperture lens, which is right by where the light is coming out. Now that we're ready to print, we want to turn our enlarger off. We want to switch from focus mode to time mode. Remember, this is the mode that when you turn on the clock, it's going to turn on our light. So just an example, I set it to 5 seconds and it's going to expose for 5 seconds. It's also going to give me this buzzing sound when it's on. That's important to hear, because if it's on, that means when you adjust to 5 seconds, you're going to be exposing prior to adjusting for 5 seconds. So when you're on timer mode, make sure that before you adjust your time, you switch it to off and then adjust to 5 seconds. Now that we're ready and the enlarger is turned off, we can reach inside our envelope and find a test strip. We need to pull out a singular test strip. We don't want to pull our paper out yet because we don't want to expose it alongside our test strip. Since we have the test strip ready, What I'm gonna do is just hold it behind my back as I turn on the enlarger one last time. I want to see where the biggest contrast is. I see that it's right alongside this these leaves on the plant that I took a picture of. So I want to turn off my enlarger, and I want to remember this spot so that I put my test strip on there so I can see where the best contrast and exposure rate is going to be. Turning it back to timer, I want to set my exposure time to 5 seconds. I'm going to put my test strip to where I think the best example of contrast is going to be. And then I'm going to pull out from my bucket, I'm going to pull out my cardboard sheet and expose this image 5 seconds at a time. And remember to turn your aperture all the way down and 1 up. So now we're going to turn this on and let it expose for 5 seconds at a time. Okay, turn the meter off, slide your cardboard back a little bit, change it to 5 seconds again, and expose it one more time. Turn your meter off, slide your protective sheet back a little bit, turn it to 5 seconds, and turn your meter on. Turn it off, slide your meter back 5 seconds. You might have to hold it in place. Turn it to 5 seconds and expose it one more time. Our last exposure, our 5th and last exposure, we want to make sure our meter is off, turn it to 5 seconds, remove the protective cardboard entirely, and expose it one last time. Okay. We can turn off our enlarger. We can take our test strip. We can take our test strip and now develop it into the developer. What you'll notice is that the image will start developing, and you want to do this for about 1 minute. So we have a clock up here. We started at 22 minutes in, so I'm going to wait till 23 minutes, and you're going to see our image is starting to develop. It might look super dark initially, but once you put it under the light and we examine it, you'll see that there's different exposure levels. So this is clearly our lowest exposure right here, and then it progressively gets darker and darker. But even though it looks like we haven't exposed we exposed too much, it will turn out, for the most part, if you did it the correct way and you did 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25 seconds, then you should be good. We're going to put this into the stop bath, and the stop bath is allowing us to stop the development phase. Make sure that there's a tong for every single development bucket so you're not exposing developer to the stop bath and fixer to the, or stop bath to the fixer. Okay, so once that's ready, you're going to pick up your image. You're going to bring it over to the dry enlarger over here, and you're just going to turn on this, and you're going to check your test strip. So if we look at it and we dry it off a little bit, what we can see is 5 seconds is way too underexposed. 10 seconds looks pretty darn good. 15 seconds, way too dark. And these obviously are further too dark. So we're looking at an exposure of between probably 7 and 10 seconds based on this image. But this, like, we can look at that gray and that looks pretty spot on. That looks like a pretty good exposure. So I'm going to stick with 10 seconds as my print. We have a test strip. We can take out the final image and we can just go straight into the actual print process. We don't have to turn the enlarger on because the image has been tested. It's in focus and it's ready to go. So I'm going to pull out my 7 by 5 inch piece of paper, and I'm going to carefully, without shifting the easel, open this. And there's some notches on the easel. There's a little slot, there's a corner that you can fit the picture or the paper into so that it's filling the entire frame. The next thing we're going to do is, because we already know that it needs to be 10 seconds, I'm actually going to go just a little bit under 10 seconds. I'm going to do about 9 because I think 10 was just a touch too dark. And I'm going to turn my enlarger on. Now I'm going to expose this for 10 seconds and then I'm going to immediately take this picture to the developer. You want to check the time. The time is 27, what is it? 2:27. And we need to pull it out in 1 minute. So I'm just going to kind of move it around and agitate it a little bit. Agitating means you're just kind of moving the fluid around. And look at that. We're already getting this really cool development of our photograph. It should appear, it's kind of like magic, right? So that's going to sit there and develop for a few more seconds. And again, just remember, if it looks like it's getting too dark, you're just fine. It's not the end of the world. It's probably turning out if you did your test strip correctly. Like mine looks way overexposed, but I'm pretty sure that once I put this into the stop bath, and it can be a little difficult to get this in. Just drop it into your stop bath. Stop bath is 30 seconds long, and you're going to agitate the whole time. Take this and drop it into the fixer. So Dectol is 1 minute. Dectol is 1 minute. Stop bath is 30 seconds. And then our fixer is going to fix it for 4 minutes. All right, so my image has spent 4 minutes in the fixer, and now I'm switching it to the water wash, which is going to last for 5 minutes. If you wanted to check your print at this point, you could. So what you would do is just toss it into the water wash, let it dry off a little bit. You can set it onto your paper, and you can turn your enlarger back on. And you can look at your print. And look at that, it looked super dark, but this exposure time was perfect. I couldn't be happier. Look at that. Great contrast is what you're looking for. You're looking for your whitest whites to be super, super white. And yeah, I'm very pleased with that image. What you're gonna do next is you're gonna take your image after it's done washing, and you're gonna find right above the cutting board over here, we've got our different hour tags. You can't read them, but they say, there you go, 5th hour, 4th hour, all that. There should be tags in here for you to use. If you pull it out, there it goes, 2nd hour. You're gonna put this on your photo for when you hang it up along the drying rack, and make sure you're not like hanging it up in somebody's face, but you're gonna clip it up here with your name and hour, or sorry, just with your hour. And then once it's fully dry, students from the next class will take your image and put it into the film cabinet where I have drawers for everybody's photo.